Guys, my idea of having fun. Like, let's say I went out on a date, right? Most guys want to go to the movies. Excuse my French. It reminds me of that Snoop Dogg song. Was it Doggy Style? He was like taking bitches out to eat and spending money on these hoes. That's not my idea of fun, y'all. Like going out on a date. Mm-mm. Like I miss the days when I used to go to the museum when I was a young man in elementary school, and you go out on that field trip, and then you have your lunchbox, and then they used to have the Suzy Q's. That's when Suzy Q's actually tasted good. Hostess products, Twinkies, and all that stuff. Yeah, I remember when food used to taste good. um, but yeah, my idea of fun is like going to museums and stuff like that. That's if I had leisure time. That's what I would probably. I like history. You guys know that already. Like going to museums. This current reality that I have to deal with every day with these people and stuff, and the things that I do, it's not up to par. That's why people can't expect everything out of me when I'm existing in a reality, in an environment that is so sorry to say, it's just beneath me. It just is. Okay. uh but just getting back to this whole museum thing, so I don't want to keep this long. It's kind of funny when they put stuff right in front of your face, you know what I mean? And when they do stuff like that, it's like all I can say is I knew it, because the answer is always in a question, right? And so there's a documentary on YouTube. I think it's called The Great White City. It talks about the Chicago World's Fair, the one from the late 1800s. And I remember I was watching that documentary. I remember I was living in Brooklyn, New York, and I was watching this documentary on my projector, which like shows like 80 something inches, depending on how big your living room is. And I like watching TV on projectors. Like if I watch a movie, it has to be on a projector because I can't. Right now, I'm staring at a 55-inch TV, but it's not on as I'm talking to you guys. I cannot turn on this TV. There's no way. The light coming from these LCD TVs, I can't take the light. It's actually painful. I don't know how people watch those things. So I have to watch things. If I want to watch a movie, I have to watch it on a projector. But yeah, when I first saw the World's Fair documentary, the first thing I said when they started talking about how they talked about how they constructed the buildings, they said that they made it out of some kind of material where it was just like the facade looked that way. And I remember asking myself, I said, "Wow!" I'm like, if they can do that with paper mache or whatever they was building those things with in the World's Fair, I said, how come they can't build buildings just to look like? I said, how come they haven't built? How come I started asking all these questions, and then when I was in Chicago, I was looking at they got the Museum of Science and Industry over there, and when you go in that Jackson Park area, you see things, and so I think the Field Museum, if not both of the buildings, uh, they claim that those are the leftover buildings from the World's Fair. Been quiet all this time. As soon as I turn on the video, I start hearing noise. I swear these people they like robots, man. I'm telling you, they're just programmable. I'm telling you, they're programmable. They do things when you are really like in communication with with spirit. That's when these humans or something just takes over them. They start making noise. They'll come drive by you in the parking lot. I don't even think they know what they're doing. They just, like I told y'all, they're like ships without a sail, easily programmable, writable. But anyway, so you got the Field Museum and the Museum of Science and Industry. And I believe they said that those were the leftover buildings from the World's Fair. And I remember thinking, well, if those are the leftover buildings from, I said, those are real buildings. Those are not made out of, there's nothing about those buildings. When you talking about the facade or the inside of them, that seemed to suggest that they were buildings that were supposed to go up for a few months and then brought, it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense. Because I said, well, if the Field Museum, if that's a real building, you mean tell me that the World's Fair, okay, they decided to make a couple of the buildings real. It was something that wasn't made. I mean, the way they mess with your mind. I wonder how many people actually ask questions, man, when they listening to things. I said something is not right. I said, why would they make two or three buildings to last from the World's Fair and then tear the rest of it? That didn't make any sense to me, and it didn't make any sense to me that the buildings they built those buildings in whatever a year or something. I said, there's no way. I don't care what you made those buildings. How you gonna? So the moral of the story is, you mean to tell me that those buildings were already built in the 1800s? Those buildings in the World's Fair. And obviously, you don't have a family member that's alive to tell you that, yeah, those buildings were always there because they're dead, right? So you can't have anybody come back and confirm with you. You just have to believe the narrative. You have to believe his story, history. You have to believe his story. You have to believe somebody's story. This is why I always say we don't live. Life is short, man. You don't know what happened 200 years ago. This is why I keep telling you guys about the Uptown Theater. There are things about that theater that seem to unlock something in people, and it doesn't make any. Well, two things about the Uptown Theater. It doesn't make any sense to me that they wouldn't fix the building and open the building. And number two, what doesn't make any sense to me is that they just wouldn't tear the building down if they're not going to do anything with it. It's very strange to me. And I've looked at other theaters like in downtown Chicago. They don't hold a candle to the Uptown Theater. So you're like, why is this building not open? It's strange. So it seems like somewhere around the 1920s, late 20s, somebody just decided to stop making things that are good, you know. But let me just go ahead and wrap this up. But yeah, it's just funny. So you mean tell me those buildings from the World's Fair in Chicago? You mean tell me those buildings? So I guess the next question would be, well, who built those buildings? See, and that's it's always a question behind another question, isn't it? Who built those buildings? Because obviously it doesn't seem like we got anybody today that can build buildings like that. It's very strange. Who built those buildings and how long were they there? And why would they tear them down? It's sad. That's all I can say, guys. It's sad, man. You go out here and you deal with this corporation filled reality where it's just all the aesthetics have been taken away. Things that make um, it's just everything is just corporation now. You see the same restaurant everywhere you go. You see the same convenience store. It's nothing. It's nothing you can get out of that but a dead soul. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even blame these people for walking around being the way that they are. You gotta have something really inside you to keep the essence of originality. You gotta have something else going on inside you to keep that essence. The essence that they had going on when they had buildings like the World's Fair up, classy stuff. You gotta have something in you to stay classy in a world like this that we live in today. If you walking around classy, you're gonna look totally alien. It's like, why are you still walking around classy when everything's so dumbed down and just very, very mediocre. And I mean everything. You can complain about working a lot of hours, but it's like, well, what is out there? It's nothing out there anyway. But anyway, go ahead and close this out, guys. I want to make another quick video. I'll holler at y'all later.